Hey everybody, if you're in need of a last minute Christmas present or a birthday present or a stocking stuffer, check out this super simple universal smartphone charging cradle I made out of a really simple piece of wood. This is super simple, you can make it in minutes, but it is so handy. For this project I bought this piece of wood right off the shelf at the hardware store. It's 3.5 inches wide, 2 feet long, and a 1/2 inch thick. The first thing I did was to cut it down into 2 smaller pieces that would interlock. At least I was about to, but that's when the earthquake hit. Okay, actually I just had the camera tripod touching the table saw by accident. That was embarrassing. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm actually getting 2 phone stands out of this single piece of wood, so that's why you see me here cutting 2 longer pieces and 2 shorter pieces. And again, this piece of wood I picked up off the shelf at Lowe's, cost like $5. So, not bad. Out of this $5 piece of wood, I get 2 phone stands. The longer piece is 7.5 inches long, and the smaller piece is 4 inches long. So now I'm marking where I'm going to cut the slots in these pieces for them to interlock. I'm going to cut these slots on the table saw, and because these pieces of wood are a 1/2 inch thick, I'm marking a 1/2 inch slot that I'm going to cut about 1 inch up from the bottom on both of these pieces. Here I am marking the 1/2 inch slot on the small piece and then on the longer of the 2 pieces as well. Making a mark at 1.5 inches and then another mark at 1 inch using my square. Then I made a mark in the middle of each piece on the bottom for a small 1/2 inch slot to cut on the bottom for your phone cord to pass through. I made a mark in the middle, and then I just marked a 1/4 inch on each side of that. This is a rough marking. That one doesn't have to be exactly 1/2 inch. It just helps to make it all look a little bit more uniform. Then I set the blade height on my table saw with my cross-cut sled to 1/2 inch tall, and I started to make the cut on the bottom. I don't have a dado stack, so I'm just taking several passes with my table saw blade to nibble away that gap. I'm cutting about a 1/2 inch gap, and again this is for my phone charging cable to pass through the back and up through the top. You'll want to do this on both the small piece and the larger piece, as you see I'm doing here. Now I'm going to set my blade height to just shy of half the width of the board, or in this case about 1 3/4 inches. And now I'm going to cut a slot to help these 2 pieces interlock. Now you don't want this to be too loose, so don't take away too much material. Err on the side of taking away less, and then we'll just continue to nibble away more and more until we get the fit that we want. I did a quick dry fit to see if it fit, and it was not wide enough, so I just took a few more passes, nibble away a little bit more material. Don't be in a hurry, just take your time and keep sneaking up on that line until you get it just right. You want it to fit, you want it to be snug, but not too snug that it might snap or break. I had one of these things break on me, and that wasn't good. So I cut the same slot on the other piece, and now it's time to fit them together to see how well they fit. And it was just a little bit too snug. Okay, so I knew I needed to widen that gap a little bit, but now's also a good time to check to see if I made the cut deep enough. If I line these two pieces up together and act as though I'm sliding them closed, when the gap is completely closed, you see there's still about 1/8 of an inch hanging off the side. That means I need to take about half that much away from both of those pieces. So maybe 1/16 of an inch. I'm going to raise my table saw blade about 1/16 of an inch and then nibble away a little bit more material. This time they fit perfectly. Now I want to cut another slightly larger gap on the back, on the other side of the shorter piece, for the phone cable to pass through in the back. So I used my Forstner bit to create a rounded profile, connected that cut to the outside with a saw, and then I had this nice little groove in the back. Need some sanding, but otherwise good to go. I sanded with a really fine sandpaper, I think 220 grit. I didn't want to take too much off the surface because I had a really snug fit, and if you sand off too much material, then your fit will be much looser, and you really don't want that. So this was just a light sanding to take off some of the rough spots. And be really careful when you sand. Notice how this piece right here is really kind of thin and not hanging on by much. And notice how I have another piece in the background that's being held together with clamps. Yeah, that's because I broke it and I had to start over on the other one. But hey, that's why I got a piece of wood that was long enough to make two. Now I can still salvage that other one and make another phone stand out of it, but I had to glue it up because it broke. So take your time, be careful. It still fits together really snugly, but now it's just a little bit smoother. There you go. Fast, dead simple, but extremely functional. You can finish it with some wax, some oil, or just leave it natural. This phone stand will hold a wide variety of phones. Feel free to make it wider, taller, shorter. The ledge there is wide enough to accommodate a phone that even has a very thick case on it. I made this one for my wife, and her phone has a big chunky case on it, but even still it sits in there just great. So whether you have a case or no case, a slim case, a fat case, iPhone, Android, it really makes no difference. Like I said, these are really easy to batch out, and as I was making this, I realized I had this nice 1/2 inch piece of mahogany laying around, and so I made an extra one for myself. If you liked this video, consider subscribing. I put out videos very infrequently, but if you'd like to, you can subscribe and follow along as I show new things that I'm teaching myself on my woodworking journey. Thanks for watching.